My name's Leanne. I'm with EDA, and my colleague Nancy is on the line as well. Thanks for joining us for our regular Wednesday webinar. Today, I had a chance a few weeks ago to talk to Tamara Kane with Prairies Can about their latest program, the Tourism Relief Fund, and thought that, gee, this would be a great opportunity for them to talk to each of you about the program, what it is, why it was developed, how you might be able to take advantage of it in your communities. So that's what the topic is today. What we'll do is I'll turn it over to Tamara and her colleague Marta, and they'll go through a bit of a presentation. Afterwards, we will share this presentation with you in an email as well as a recording. And so you don't have to worry about that. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and Nancy at the end, she'll be curating those and asking the questions. And if we end early, we end early. So we just kind of go with how the session goes. So Tamara, I will turn it over to you to introduce yourself and Marta and talk about the program.
Great. Thanks, Leanne, for that introduction. And yeah, thanks for creating this opportunity for us to share information about the Tourism Relief Fund. As you know, it's a big priority for Prairies Can at the moment. Before I get underway, I'd just like to introduce, I have two colleagues with me today. First is Marta Gomez. She's a Senior Business Officer in our Tourism Initiatives team here in the Alberta region. And I'd also like to introduce Connor Petta. He is also a Business Officer with the Tourism Initiatives team. So again, hopefully we've provided you with some links at the end, but feel free to get in touch with any of us following the Lunch and Learn session, and we'll help you navigate the fund and take suggestions and what have you. So thanks again. So in terms of the outline today, I would just like to go over, some of the key program objectives, priority considerations. I hope I'm going to leave you with some key takeaways and resources that will be useful to you going forward. Just for connectivity reasons, I'm going to turn off my screen if that's okay, and Marta's going to drive the slides for me. Great. So the Tourism Relief Fund was announced as part of Budget 2021. It's a $500 million fund that was announced with the intent to position Canada as a destination of choice when domestic and international travel is safe once again. It's important to Canada's economic recovery efforts, and as I mentioned earlier, is a priority for Prairies Can, Alberta. Launched at the end of July, the TRF is a time-limited competitive program that enables existing tourism entities to adapt, enhance, or create new experiences and services to meet public health requirements and to attract more visitors. 10% of the fund is specifically dedicated to Indigenous tourism initiatives, and 15 million has been set aside for delivery through ISED. Excuse me, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat, will be delivered by ISED to support pan-Canadian projects with industry and stakeholder associations such as Tourism HR Canada, Tourism Industry Association of Canada, the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada, Restaurants Canada, and the Hotels Association of Canada. Regionally based projects will be delivered by the 7 regional development agencies across Canada. And of course, Prairies Can will be delivering the fund here in Alberta, and Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Next slide.
Give me 1 second, Tamara. Sorry to interrupt you. I am getting some messages that we want to switch to presentation mode, and I thought I was. So let me fix that for you before you continue, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm unsure as to why it's not showing as presentation mode. I made a change, did that connect?
No, I just see a big slideshow, resume slideshow words.
Okay. My apologies, everyone. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
perfect.
great.
Okay.
No, thanks.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Tamara.
perfect. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Marta.
Sure.
So priorities. Priority consideration for the program will be given to projects that support the Indigenous tourism sector, those that contribute to the economic development of a region or contribute to job creation within Alberta, as well as those that take place in tourism-dependent communities or regions, including revitalization of downtown cores, and bolster businesses and organizations of strategic importance to the tourism sector in the region. Next slide, please. Indigenous tourism projects are important to Canada's economic recovery efforts and are a priority under the fund. As mentioned, 50 million will be allocated to specifically support Indigenous tourism initiatives. These are projects that will be Indigenous-led or will have significant Indigenous impact with strong partnerships in place with Indigenous operators. Contributions to Indigenous-led not-for-profits and organizations such as Indigenous Tourism of Alberta will typically be non-repayable. Contributions to for-profit Indigenous entities will be repayable. Next slide. The $15 million envelope that will be delivered by ISED and the TRF supports the advancement of national tourism priorities aligned with Canada's federal tourism growth strategy. And these priorities include destination development, seasonal, and geographic dispersion. The investment in the visitor economy creates middle-class jobs, grows Canada's economy, and brings new opportunities and pride to communities looking for a chance to show the world what they have to offer. A key focus of this strategy is enticing tourists to visit less known parts of the country and to travel during the winter and shoulder season. The Government of Canada's federal tourism growth strategy aims to grow tourism revenue by 25% and jobs by 7.3% by 2025. The key factors of this strategy will be total spending by tourists on goods and services, and the number of jobs created and tourism GDP growth. National projects will further these goals and leverage the reach and expertise of national tourism organizations to support pan-Canadian or multi-regional activities addressing challenges facing the tourism sector. Next slide, please. Eligibility under the program must meet at least one of the following three criteria. You must be a key supplier or operator in the visitor experience, meaning a key supplier that provides the infrastructure and services necessary to support a tourism economy, connects tourism products to potential markets, and leads planning for sustainable destination development and supports capacity building and skills development in the sector. Second eligibility criteria is you can be part of a defined tourism cluster or tourism dependent community. And what we mean by that is a tourism cluster is a geographic concentration of businesses and organizations involved in tourism linked by a common and complementary products and services that are tailored for the visitor economy and supported by a network of services and associated institutions. A tourism cluster can include, but is not limited to, a community or region that is dependent on tourism for its economic activity or is transitioning towards a more tourism-focused local economy. The third eligibility criteria, you can be part of an anchor product or a service in a tourism destination. An anchor product in a destination is defined as a key asset that serves as a motivator of travel to the region. It is the activity or product that provides the catalyst for the visitor to visit the destination. Anchor products may be operated by for-profit or not-for-profit organizations. Anchor attractions play an important role in Alberta's economy by drawing visitors to communities and supporting local small businesses throughout the province. Organizations drawing travelers to regional destinations, attractions, and experiences are key to expanding anchor attractions. Eligible applicants under the program include tourism entities that cater mainly to visitors, such as small and medium enterprises, not-for-profit incorporated organizations, such as tourism associations and destination marketing organizations, and Indigenous organizations, nations, and Métis settlements. Recently, we revised the program criteria to make the allowance for Indigenous sole proprietors to be eligible under the program. And so you'll see changes on our website and applicant guide forthcoming around that piece. Next slide, please. Eligible activities. There are two key program objectives under the TRF, one being product development and enhancement of tourism experiences, and the other one being destination development. Projects under product development and enhancement of tourism experiences will help tourism businesses adapt to the new normal, to modernize tourism offerings, and to help the sector adopt more environmentally sustainable and inclusive practices. This can be creating, adapting, or enhancing protocols and permanent infrastructure to meet health and safety requirements to accommodate visitors and employees, helping operators traditionally reliant on international markets, such as those in downtown cores, to create innovative tourism offerings attractive to local and domestic visitors, modernizing operations, greening initiatives, and online sales service, and developing capacity for more inclusive tourism experiences. The way I'd like to kind of paraphrase this is we often say to applicants that really this fund is around generally securing tools, strategy, or assets. They may help to create a new purchasable tourism experience through those activities listed above. Next slide, please. The second major theme or thrust of the fund is destination development. Again, these types of projects would position communities to take advantage of post-pandemic opportunities through strategic planning for medium to long-term investments, as well as supporting destination development in line with the objectives set out in the Federal Tourism Growth Strategy. Again, activities may include support to communities in developing sustainable tourism plans based on research and market analysis designed to rebuild tourism confidence in those communities, supporting seasonal dispersion by equipping operators to extend product offerings that increase visitation during the winter and shoulder seasons, supporting destinations to implement tourism plans that create or improve local assets, facilities, and planning for key infrastructure, or enhancing tourism services and experiences, including market readiness designed to help communities and small, medium enterprises develop experiential tourism that respond to visitor expectations post-COVID-19. And or implementing strategies to reactivate and animate downtown cores, main streets, and business districts through activities, public art, and mixed use spaces. Again, these destination development activities are in line with Canada's Federal Tourism Growth Strategy pillars. Next slide, please. Under the fund, we have 3 funding streams available. On the for-profit side, contributions to incorporated businesses will either be non-repayable contributions up to 50% of eligible costs to a maximum of $100,000, or fully repayable contributions up to 75% of the eligible costs to a maximum of $500,000. Nonprofit contributions to organizations, Indigenous entities will be eligible for non-repayable contributions. Project contribution amounts generally will not exceed $500,000. All TRF applications and expenditures must be made by March 31st, 2023, when the program expires. And a project cannot receive both a non-repayable and a repayable contribution. Typically, funding is limited to 1 project per applicant, but applicants may choose to apply for other Budget 2021 programs, such as Jobs and Growth Fund or programs through Canadian Heritage. Typically, under our fully repayable contribution, the repayment terms, it's a loan. Some people are starting to use the word grant, but really what we have are non-repayable contributions and fully repayable contributions. Under our fully repayable contributions, what you do receive is it's a 0% loan. It's not, you're not required to pay the loan back until after the project is completed. And then there is a 1-year grace period given, and then repayment begins We don't take collaterals on, and we don't take any collateral on the loans either. So it's a really great way to finance a project. And again, the project proponent is expected to contribute 25% of eligible costs to a maximum of $500,000. I think the non-repayable, again, it's a non-repayable contribution, but the expectation is that the project proponent will have 50% of the matching requirement. In terms of eligible project costs, pretty much most things are eligible under the program. So it's probably easier to begin with sharing with you what isn't eligible. Land purchase or purchase of a building are not eligible costs under it. Purchase of any assets for more than fair market value, costs of amortization, and any type of in-kind costs also are not valid under the program. Again, the time of the program is costs starting April 19th, 2021 through to March 31st, 2023. So costs must fall within the window of the program. One nuance that is important to consider, because we're kind of new to this space around tourism, and some of the applicants haven't worked with us before through one of our regular programs, is that Prairies Can project support is really based around incremental projects. So their project activities are not considered to be part of your normal operations. They are incremental to the core work. And another thing to consider when applying is making the linkage between what the project will generate in terms of benefits and performance indicators, such as the number of jobs maintained and created through the project, as well as the amount of visitors attracted to the region, either domestic or internationally, by virtue of the project. So we're really encouraging applicants to think through that and read through the applicant guide carefully, because that is a really, we really are looking for that strong alignment with the TRF program objectives, as well as the benefits that will be created as a result of the proposed project. Next slide, please. Supporting documentation. So again, I just wanted to have it up front here. We're looking for financial statements for the past 2 years of normal operations, as well as the interim financial statements for at least the last 6-month period. Any additional supporting details that you can provide around studies for market demand or previous strategies, including the, a pitch deck, other funding sources, is important to include with your application. And again, if you are looking for third-party delivery, any TRF specific project plans or funding allocations, as well as how your organization would implement third-party delivery through the fund, would be important to include. And the last slide is, here's some more information. The applicant, we really are encouraging applicants to carefully review our application guide. It is a bit lengthy, but it really helps you shape and think about your project, which then again makes assessment much more efficient and timely. If you have further questions, as I introduced at the beginning of this session, myself, Connor, or Marta are available to speak with you. We also have a 1-800 line that's set up that applicants can call into for additional information about the program. And then, of course, in addition to the TRF program, there are a number of additional funding options that have been announced through Budget 2021, and more recently in December, specifically targeted to the accommodation and hospitality sector. So we've provided links there, and we encourage folks to go directly to those sites to learn more about those programs and the eligibility criteria for them. So with that, I will turn it back to you folks. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. When we're developing high-level presentations, I'm not sure where people like to take it. So I think sometimes just a Q&A is the best way to get at the heart of the information that you may need.
Well, we do have a question in the chat box, and it is the fund available to new businesses?
Yes, so in our applicant guide, you will see new businesses as of January are eligible under the program. And it does give some guidance around the documentation that's required, but they are eligible.
All right. Any other questions? Just put it in the chat box. We will be sharing this presentation with all of the links in an email after the webinar is over. And there will be a link to this webinar as well to our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to review it again if you want to view the video. Otherwise, all of the information will be contained in the email. Anybody have anything else? Here's another one. Okay, so DMOs and tourism agencies were mentioned as eligible. What about BIAs or municipalities?
Yeah, definitely municipalities. Again, I think going back to the definition of the eligibility criteria on that key supplier and the visitor experience or being part of a tourism cluster is something to consider on how you submit your application, but definitely municipalities are eligible to submit.
And Tamara, are you okay if we put your and Martha's emails in the email that goes out? And that way people can contact you directly if they have any other questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know. Anyone else have any questions?
Nancy, typing takes too long, so I'm hoping it's okay if I just
Oh, yeah,
ask the
just
question.
go ahead.
So I look at, including capacity for inclusive tourism experiences, etc. And then I see the requirement for studies, market demands. And I'm wondering if, as a municipality, you partner with your BIA or your tourism destination organization. And I will note that I'm from Canmore, so tourism is one of our, key industries.
Yes.
We know from assessing accessibility that if you want to promote, for example, the alternative, sorry, the name escapes me right now, but if you want to have more accessibility components in your downtown core, something as simple as updating your garbage cans so that people that are mobilely challenged can actually open the lid, has a high cost of demand to it. Is there a study done on that? No, there's a local group that has gone through and assessed those for us, but that's not a written report. So how do you deal with those types of requirements that do elevate the tourism experience, create a more accessible, it's one of a number of initiatives around accessibility, but how do you deal with that in the requirements?
Yeah, and I hate to say that, but it really depends in a case by case analysis. So I think working through with an officer what you have on file and what you could provide as part of your application is important to consider. I think it's also important to consider the objective of the program. Again, it's really to create new experiences or elevate those destinations, and we have to watch that the concept of the incrementality piece as well to ensure that we're addressing that aspect. But in terms of market demand, we're not setting a prescriptive number of studies that need to be established, but it's making the case for why this will make the difference and why this will bring increased visitation to your region or destination. So I think that's something to consider as you outline and describe the activities in your project proposal. I don't know if that gets at your answer enough, or
I love the "it's depends" response.
Yeah. Well,
we're used to that by now. It's all good.
I know. And I think those are some of the challenges when we design a national program that has to be, fairly consistent across all 7 RDAs. We're trying to support, operators such as Pursuit at the high end, really experienced, as well as new businesses. So trying to design these parameters so they're flexible and everybody can see themselves in it. It leaves us sometimes with a bit of "it depends." So hopefully that gets you some of the way. But really what I wanted to reassure everybody about today is that we're here, and it is, I don't want to call it a fuzzy program, but because it has some pretty flexible program parameters, it's really worthwhile taking the time to reach out to one of us, and we're happy to kind of coach and do some concierge servicing for you with your project idea, whether that's pathfinding you to other sources or working through the program parameters with you one-on-one. We're happy to do that.
And once again, all of that information will be in the email. I think that it was contained in some of the links that you shared on your last slide.
Yeah, and the 100
Okay.
line. Thanks, Nancy.
Perfect. All right. Anybody have anything else? Any
Bert
questions?
had put a question in the chat.
Bert, you just want to speak up? Are you on the call still?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I was in a
Hey, Bert.
council meeting on my other computer, so it's
Oh.
been that kind of a morning. But
Multitasking.
wonderful to see everybody, and wonderful to have a chance to talk a little bit. Brianna McKay and I are both on representing the Growth RETA, and we're in the process of trying to finally, about 4 years after having our strategic plan adopted, with the idea of spinning off Wild Alberta as a regional destination marketing organization. We're hoping to look to the TRF to help with some funding and that kind of thing around that process. So the application, as we understand it, it has to be an existing corporation. So the RETA would be our existing corporation that would make the application, and they would oversee the funds, but that would be the money that would then help us to seed and start off creating the Wild Alberta group as its own kind of nonprofit. So not to bore everybody with all of the mundane details, but that's kind of the overview of the program. And Tamara and Marta, I look forward to Brianna and I being able to set up a call to talk to you as we work through the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert, for that.
Tamara, what
And
is the
Happy
deadline
New Year,
again?
everybody.
Oh, Happy New Year, Bert. What is the deadline again, Tamara?
The program closes on March 31st, 2023, and we're through a continuous intake process. So we can receive applications as they're ready to come online. So.
Okay, excellent. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I'll flip it back over to Leanne to wrap things up.
Great. Well, thank you again, Tamara, Connor, Marta, for taking the time to educate us about the program. And we'll, like Nancy said, we'll share that information shortly. And I can vouch, Tamara and I had a long talk one day, and they are very committed to helping you work through a concept. So, you know, greatly appreciated. So next week, just for those of you who are interested, Invest Alberta Corporation has undergone significant kind of restructuring and new people, and they are going to be on our call next week, just explaining where they're at, how we can take advantage of their programs as well. So that's on our website if you want to register now. And once again, thank you, Tamara, Connor, and Marta, for your time. And hopefully we can see some of the people on the call here, some of you get some applications in as a result. So any closing comments, Tamara, Connor, or Marta? Or
thank you for the opportunity. And just to share with you, we are also available to, if you would like presentations to smaller groups or a municipality, we're happy to do follow-up sessions for you as well. So, and we'll also circulate the 2-pager again, Leanne, on the program so that you can circulate it within your constituents, members, and communities.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you. And everyone, thanks for calling in, and have a great week. Hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.